I think I finally understand why some people build really cult followings, incredible audiences very quickly, and some people spend years doing all the right things, but just chasing and not landing. I used to think that it was a content thing. It's better hooks, better structuring, better like the better you get at these things, your upside is infinite, um, regardless of who you are, who you may and may not be. Um, you could still get there if you were good enough at these things. And I have evidence to the contrary based on very real life feedback, things you can look up now. That would lead you to the same conclusion or a very similar one. And so, yeah, I thought it was the better thumbnails, better editing, and those things do matter. Don't get me wrong. I am studying them. I am still learning. I am still constantly improving my ability to storytell, my ability to resonate and connect with, an audience and all these things. But those are all amplifier skills. Those are all things that extract who you are and allow you to translate that to the audience. But the most important thing becomes um, who you are to begin with. And I think that's the ultimate thing that I want to be getting, that I want to be touching on here is content isn't one when the camera turns on. It's one before the camera turns on. Meaning, regardless of how good, you could literally have the best advice in the world. You could literally genuinely know what you're talking about and let people know what you're talking about in a very eloquent way with great hooks, great structure, and great format, great everything. You can edit everything in. You could be absolutely incredible. But if you haven't done shit, no one's gonna believe you. If you haven't done shit, it's like, okay, this looks and sounds fantastic, but why should I listen to you? What have you done? Is the ultimate thing. And so it becomes very interesting when you're building in public, when the whole reason for the documentation is the fact that you're growing, the fact that you're documenting the journey, and the fact that you haven't gotten there, right? Is when you start to kind of fixate and lose yourself in, man, my editing, my structuring, my thumbnails, my hooks, my this, my that. It's like, okay, all those things are fantastic, to make it more palatable when people are there, to make it so that you're delivering better value when people are there. And it's good to practice the skills and hone the skills so that when you are who you need to be in order to command large audiences and provide immense value to many people, by the time you get there to be who you need to be, right? You need to hone these things, practice these things, and that's what makes you absolutely incredible when you have the combination of the authority and the delivery. But in the meantime, as you're building that authority, you tend to hyperfixate on these things, and I am doubling down on the fact that that's not the approach. And so if you look at Elon Musk, for example, he is not the biggest business influencer in the world because he makes the best content. He's the biggest business influencer in the world because he is the biggest business person in the world. He's the biggest business. He's the richest man in the world. He owns, he's the first trillionaire. Large stakes in multi-trillion, or large stakes in many multi-billion rand dollar companies, and so he can say anything and people will believe him. He doesn't need to edit anything. If he puts anything out about anything, he put out a 4 hour podcast saying, um, when you, and people will be absolutely captivated. You could be the most charismatic, you know, polished storyteller of what, and you'll never have as much influence within the business context as Elon Musk. And so I'll mention more examples, and then I'll go into the very real example that more recently got distracted, lost my train of thought, but I digress. So he's not the biggest influencer in the world because he creates the best content, has the best edits, the best cuts, the best this and that. He can articulate in any way, shape, or form that he wants, and he will continue to be the best influencer because he is the most highly ranked and rated business person in the world according to the actual scoreboard. If you look at Hormozi, his journey, he had a multi $10 million exit before he started creating the content and doing it at a large scale. Yes, he did eventually learn the things about the hooks and the thumbnails and the this and the that, but all of that is the gateway to the actual person and the actual message that's behind it. So it's all about refining that message, making that person a better person. And so the ultimate thing that I want to touch on was Dan Martell's creative lead, because that's what really made it real for me. That's what really made it resonate, and what reminded me, right? We need to be reminded more, we need to be taught, I believe. So it ultimately reminded me that this was true. And what kind of nailed it home is because Dan Martell's creative lead had set himself a goal to do 100,000 in 6 months, 100,000 followers on Instagram in 6 months. He got to 60,000, which is incredible, right? Ridiculous. But this is someone who knows every principle there is, every hook structure, every this, every that. He's dedicated his life to his art, to his craft, and that's his craft. Um, and yet, hard capped at 60. Why? Simply because he's he's just not a massive business influence. He's not a massive business person, and so if the goal, I'm assuming, was to kind of command that kind of an audience, um, then obviously he would fall short. If the goal was, and this is where this is the part, and this is maybe what I wanted to mention before, is the only people who gain massive followings from posting consistently and the all the best hook structures and being up to date with this and doing this and that are people who have followings of people who want to learn how to post consistently, have the best hook structures, best storytelling, this, that, and the third. And so it's like a self-reinforcing loop in that way. But if your business is, if you're not in the business of being like, of teaching people how to storytell, teaching people how to hook, how to structure this, how to do that, um, then doing that, or that being your primary focus, is probably going to be misguided. And you'll probably miss out on some opportunities and moments that you otherwise would have been able to capitalize on if you were focused on the actual thing. Um, I think I made a really good example about this, which is, yeah, the biggest job for me is not necessarily to become the best editor, best storyteller, best influencer, and that I can possibly be. The biggest job for me is to become the best that I can be. Period. Because every story, every rejection, every phone call, every cold call, every offer, every campaign, every thing that I do, that I build, that I become, that is what makes the stories great, and that's what makes the stories worth watching. That's what makes anything worth watching. um, you know from my perspective, both things are happening simultaneously, and so there is a chicken egg thing that tends to happen, which is I will learn how to create the great thumbnail. I'll learn how to hook, how to structure things, but at the same time I'm also growing as an individual. And so I think sometimes my mind tends to conflate the two things, because like, oh, I finally got the right thumbnail, now this got great viewership. But what I underrate is, it got great viewership, retention is incredibly high. And the reason why retention is incredibly high is because it not just was packaged well, but all that packaging did for me is allow me to unlock more people to be seeing what I've already been doing for years at this point, and getting better and better at, which is delivering these insights, and having really good and hopefully profound messaging, and just becoming better at that system. And so things that excite me right now that we're kind of building towards, that I believe will be proper intersections. Once again, I already have things. For example, Builder Sunday, the concept of that, um, is let's be business specific. on this day. On this day, let's but there's such an overlap between, the philosophy and the heart that it takes to keep going and the actual strategies themselves. And very often you don't need a new strategy. You just need to stick to the plan. That's the hardest part. Because your plan doesn't suck. You suck for not sticking to it. And the understanding of when to push or pivot is mostly you, like, if your core thesis on what the market is, or that there is a market for this thing, hasn't been disproven, you should be pushing, you should be doing more, you should be getting yourself out there, taking risks, you know and when that is disproven, then you pivot. So by and large, it did turn into a mostly emotional a mostly emotional series within itself, just purely for that reason. And so you have the founder's journal as well, which is literally me going through my actual journal, months later, that I wrote months ago. And so those things are culminations of this. Build a Sunday insights come from my real business experience, and limited as it may be. It's like it's interesting because it's real business insight, not from someone who is no longer in that chapter of their lives, but it's like from the thick of things. And so you get to hear the hairy details of some of the thoughts that keep you going in this stage when you have no cash flow, no money in the bank at all. I have nearly 20 people working for me at this stage of the game, and incredible opportunities coming up, and going through it, figuring it out. Okay, boom. And it's not even a week later, cash flow is really healthy right now, in a really good spot. I'm having HR issues, having to figure. You don't get that hairy detail. I won't be able to articulate some of the things I'm articulating now later on, because I would have forgotten what the moment was like, what it felt like, what was happening. So you get that insight, you get to see those things from those two series. But then Legacy Africa University really excites me right now. And that is, I put it purposely after the 10-minute mark because usually no one's watching. Legacy Africa University is not what it sounds like. It's just the only words that we have to describe a culmination of sets of data that have been synthesized to make them as consumable as possible, as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. That we call that university. We call those courses. Those are just words that we use. It's going to be absolutely free. It's more than likely going to be a YouTube series initially. Eventually, I want to produce a book from that series. And basically, what it is I've realized that there is a certain kind of knowledge that they don't teach in school. They just don't. And the only way that I've had access to it is having access to the rooms that I do, and thankfully the people in those rooms being willing to have certain conversations. And so from my learnings in those, as it happens to me, I begin to write the thesis. So being that as it's happening, I'm having to do massive amounts of research. I'm having to understand how the world is working currently, how AI is affecting marketing, how there's now overlaps between the different departments. Like the line between marketing and sales is more blurred now than it's ever been. I mean, fortunately for me, I come from a sales background. I think I learned sales before I learned marketing. I did learn sales before I learned marketing, and so those are two skills that I've continued to hone all throughout, and they've always overlapped for me because it's not just letting people know about your stuff, but it's can you um, inform the other person. It's all communication. It's all communication. So anyway, it's communicating these ideas, and how AI now, I don't speak of Legacy Africa as an AI native, AI first company, because we don't deal in AI products, but we are very much an AI native company, very much throughout all the functions that we have within the business. Um, we use and leverage AI tools like a lot. It's just not something that I thought of because it was like I've never conducted business in any other way, so I don't. I'm like, oh, this is AI. I just realized as I was going on the journey that wow, this I don't think this would be possible. I was like, and the deeper I go and the more I do, the more I'm like, I don't think my business would exist without AI. And to me, the reason why I usually didn't speak out loud about that or speak about that too much is because, legitimacy. We all seek being legit. We all want to be, which basically means I want approval from strangers that what I'm doing is real. But the reality is, if you're getting paid money for your stuff, you have a business. Period. And you are that is legitimate. There's no one. There's no stamp. There's no if you're conducting a service, if you have a product that is being exchanged for value in the marketplace, congratulations, you're a business owner. But we seek that legitimacy, and we want to be approved of, and we want to make certain people proud, and do ourselves proud and whatnot. And so we tend to shy away from these things, but now I'm leaning more so into that, and that being a reality of, no, listen, I'm ridiculously adept at using these different AI tools, multiple different AI tools. And the thing about it is, I always assume that everyone else also knows the ridiculous amounts that I know about the AI and how to use it and how to use different tools for different this and different that. Not realizing that months ago, I also didn't know how to use any of these, especially not to the depths that I know, and the different tools for the different functions, and the this and the that. And I also believe about myself that I'm not fully using these things as well as they could be. Um, and so I learn. And as I continue to learn, I feel that that journey is worth documenting. But the combination of, okay, what are business first principles? What are marketing first principles? Sales first principles? How is AI affecting everything? How do you synthesize, collect all this information, put it in a South African context, and towards the mission of Legacy Africa, which will lend itself toward being useful for South African entrepreneurs, business owners, and so that is the Mona Lisa. And what will come from the Mona Lisa is, there will be many videos put out, and the best of those will be combined, summarized into courses, and the best of what comes of all of this will probably be combined and summarized into one piece of work, that will be, perhaps a book, you know um, and just the idea of that, man, the idea of being able to do for others what so many have done for me excites me. And what excites me most is the thought process that is, there is an intersect right now. Like, there's something to be done that I don't think is being done, and I think I'm the only one who can do it, or I'm the only one who's going to do it. If I don't do it, it won't get done, is the feeling, because of the very unique perspective. And this unique perspective, I think I can translate it in a way that can be applicable and useful to people in many different domains and spaces. Um, but yeah, I really feel like there's an incredible moment in time that, I'm spearheading, and I'm taking all the risk, that it takes to spearhead such a time, which I find really incredible. So yeah, Legacy Africa really excites me because I'm already going into the subjects, like researching them, having to build the frameworks, not just for myself, for my internal team. And so just like giving that away publicly, and seeing what the people resonate with, what goes on, I'm super excited about that. I know it's gonna absolutely wreck my a lot of scheduling. It's gonna take a lot from me. It's gonna take a lot of sacrifices, in order to kind of make this happen, even more so than I'm already sacrificing, which is ridiculous, but I know it will be worth it in the end. And again, something that I have to do anyway. So I'm not going to act like I'm, for the greater good of the world. It's like, no, I need to learn. If I am to grow, I need to learn. And so I would like to take you on that journey with me as well. Yeah, teaching, it forces me to understand. and the content just becomes the evidence, not performance. And so you can't shortcut becoming. um, you can't. You just have to get better and document that. You can't shortcut becoming by getting better at documenting. The camera doesn't create authority; it reveals it. So yes, learn the hooks, learn the psychology, like read the books, do all the things, but remember that Excalibur didn't make Arthur king. It is only the king that could have removed Excalibur from the stone. And so become king. To be the man, you gotta be the man. To be king, you have to be king first. Hope that makes sense. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that was somewhat coherent. I hope you got some sort of resonating message from it. Regardless, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. Um, yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. I don't know if it would serve us. Maybe it would. To decrease the frequency and bump up quality. For example, just do a Monday, Wednesday, Sunday. Maybe a Monday, Wednesday, Sunday will make sense. But I want to do good by you, and I feel that the only way that I can do good by you is if I don't, for vanity's sake, chase volume in the way that I have. And I understand that there may be an initial drop off in terms of viewership and whatnot, but I also understand that at the end of the day, if the quality, if there are less seconds of value, but there's more value per second, then I will have done a good thing. And so that's what I aim to do. Thank you for watching. I've been Sage, standing on business. Signing off. By the way, my name is Omoy. I'm the CEO founder of Legacy Africa. And I'll try to remember to introduce myself in the next one. Thank you for watching.